I don't want your marriage to fail. Why? I mean, I'm succeeding in marriage. Why should you fail? Why should you fail? I hate it. And that's why we come over here every other moment to unlock the marital bliss.
You know, you're my wife.
Yeah.
I loved you.
Yes.
I will always love you.
Yes.
I want to thank you for standing with me. I want to thank you for raising our children. I want to thank you for the life we have stayed together. Thank you for being a wonderful woman. I wish every husband had a woman like Justine.
Yes.
I have loved you from day one, and I always love you.
Amen.
Thank you for loving me. Thank you for taking care of us.
Amen.
I love you.
I love
Till
you too.
death. God does us apart.
Amen.
Yes, once you have the key, you don't have to fight. You just insert the key, turn around, and unlock bliss in your marriage. And that is why we are here. Remember to always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, social media, YouTube, and hey, let us know how this has been a blessing to you.
This weekend on UBC.
You know, when God bless someone, or when God bless you, you become a blessing. You know, when you become a blessing, you can be able to
bless others.
Bless others.
The Ideation Corner is a space where ideas are discussed and dissected.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
It is intellectually engaging.
Court does not sit to waste its time. If you have no defense, it chases you.
It is a ruling on the foundations. Business has been conducted in a certain way.
Banks take money from us, depositors. All of us seated here have got money in the bank. And even before you walk out, they've given that money to somebody else.
Deeply incisive.
Here is a credible alternative political force.
Let's get into this election and let's choose right.
Through that vote that you will contribute towards building a new Uganda.
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the Headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charlse Odongotho.
A very welcome.
Probably the most experienced talk show moderator in Uganda, with a team of illustrious panelists. Honorable Abdul Katuntu, a seasoned legislator, politician, and senior lawyer. Honorable Margaret Mohanga, a veteran journalist, legislator, entrepreneur, and development consultant. And Ramadan Gobi, an economist and university don.
There is no country which has lost, which has failed or has had collapsed democracy when it is above $6,000. So,
all on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
A very warm welcome and good evening. Welcome to this edition of Behind the Headlines. The guests are already sat and I'm ready to fire them the questions. An interesting discussion in my view today. We are going to be looking at the potential for tourism in Uganda amidst the COVID, or even if you like, that COVID will soon end post-COVID. We're going to be looking at all that discussion, at all that focus. The discussion topic is leveraging on Uganda Airlines and its economic prospects. To discuss that, we have the CEO of Uganda Airlines himself, Cornwell Muleya. If the Muleya was not there, I would have thought we are dealing with some Briton, Cornwell. Good to see you in the studio and to have you here. And congratulations for delivering the second Airbus for Uganda Airlines and completing the fleet that you promised us.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
We are going to be looking at whether we are going to have value for money for those planes, but for now, you're most welcome. Next to him is a man who probably should be called, the first name should be Tourism something. Amos Wekesa. He is a businessman. He's managing director of the Great Lakes Safaris Limited. And Wekesa said that this is his first time coming to UBC. I wonder why, but you're most welcome all the same.
Thank you so much. I think I've not been relevant for UBC, but today I'm glad I'm here and burning in Wakaka. You know, it's my village.
Ah!
Yeah, this is where I come from. So.
From the Elgon Mountains?
Absolutely. So I'm celebrating being the studio, telling you I'm from Wakaka.
Meaning the professor is saying you are a villager.
Let him shut up.
No, someone would say, if all villagers are like Amos Wekesa and one Amos Wekesa, then let's all be villagers.
Absolutely.
Next to Wekesa, on his right, is the Honorable Alex Ruhunda. He is a survivor of the recent voting massacres around the country. And he comes all the way from the land that I like, the land of the Batoro, from Fort Portal City. Honorable Ruhunda, you're most welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Happy
glad.
New Year and congratulations for surviving.
Thank you, my brother. I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm happy the people of Fort Portal have sent me back to do my national duties.
Good. And finally, we have next on my left here is Professor or Mr. Ramadan Gobi. He teaches economics at Makerere University Business School. He is more excited to, have the topic today. He likes things to do with the economy, how much is the money coming in and all that. You're at home today.
Thank you, Charles, for saving me the politics and for bringing things which bring money into our lives.
Not once we take.
This is, we can't eat politics.
No.
But
the politicians can stop you from eating.
I know. They have been stopping us for some time now.
Oh, yeah.
It has been their season, but good that you brought these gentlemen. I'm glad to see the CEO, to see the Amos. For him, we always meet in different streets.
Yeah.
And the Honorable, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good. Let me start from, let me actually start with Cornwell himself. The last time I checked, Uganda was investing over $400 million in revamping the Uganda Airlines. Yes. Now we are, can you say we are at a takeoff? What makes you say that, if so?
Basically, when you are building a national asset, such as the airline, you do it in stages. So there are building blocks that allow you basically to have a carrier that can do the job that you want. The government had many reasons for starting Uganda Airlines, and one of the most important one is to create a bridge between Uganda and other countries, both within Africa as well as internationally. So it is infrastructure for Uganda, and as you know, if you want to cross the water, there are many ways of doing it. You can either use a boat, which is not permanent. When it goes away, it leaves others waiting, which is really, by way of analogy, this was a situation that existed before there was a home-based carrier here. Other people came, they flew, but they left. They didn't have a stake in Uganda. Now, government decided, let's build infrastructure that is permanent to allow both for the people to move, for the goods to move, for us to plan our economy properly, to develop the export potential, to attract investment in the country, to create employment, to do what is termed as import substitution. Really, basically, the money that you are spending to develop other carriers outside, you invest it in your own economy. So this is what it is all about. So first, you have to bring in the assets, and you looked long term. That is why the government decided that we should purchase the fleet, because it's the project has a long-term objective. So that is where we are. Yesterday was a historic milestone.
Are you now ready to do business with the rest of the world, with the region, and you know, at a competitive level? Can you now say Uganda is more competitive in terms of you know, the tourism sector, linking this Uganda airline potential to the tourism center?
I think since the 28th of August last year, when we started flying in 2019 actually, we already have been making waves within East Africa, because we have connected direct flights to all East African capitals. We are going to Kilimanjaro, to Zanzibar, to Mombasa, which are tourist areas linking both the coast as well as the inland tourism in Uganda. And really, we have seen overwhelming support from the majority of the tour operators in those countries to package Uganda in the tourism map.
Tell us briefly, to what extent has, maybe first of all, have you had all the four bombardiers running already to these regional destinations, and are they getting full potential in terms of passengers? Minus the COVID.
Yes, indeed. Before COVID, we had started flying obviously in September, fully, 2019. And from then on, we flew up to March the 22nd. During that period, we carried just about 80,000 passengers to the 9 routes that we had opened, which was tremendous growth of at least 11,000 passengers per month in that period of 6 months which we had developed. So that is tremendous growth as far as we are concerned. We had a lot of acceptance in the industry, and we are recognized as a prime service carrier because of the quality of the planes we are using, the quality of service that we are offering on board, and also we do not delay flights. We leave at the time when we say we are departing, and we arrive at the time when we say we are arriving. All those ingredients have put us in the map, and the other carriers have noticed that yes, we are a carrier worth working with, and we are looking for partnerships at the moment.
Before I bring in your colleagues, to what extent have you been, have you felt the COVID impact so far? It has affected, you know, if you looked at that figure, at one time the president was referring to it in one of his addresses, yes, where the planes are all packed. Yes. And you can see like a graveyard almost.
Yes, indeed. I think worldwide 98% of air traffic stopped as of March 2020. So for us, on the 23rd of March, we packed our planes because the markets were closed. We couldn't fly out of Entebbe. And the planes were packed until the 1st of October. But during that period, if you recall, we came to the national duty of doing repatriation flights, which is bringing Ugandans who are stranded abroad to bring them home. And so we operated flights to West Africa, to Southern Africa, across the region in East Africa, to bring people back home during the period of the closures of the airport on special flights.
Okay, good. Amos, do you feel Cornwell when he says we have done this, we have anticipated this, we predicted this, and now we are at this stage of, let's call it a takeoff?
Pretty much, yes. I must first start by congratulating Cornwell. Cornwell is a very seasoned airline person, and I think Uganda made a very good decision to have him. Cornwell, we may not have told you, but he was one of the guys that made Air Mauritius grow. And he came in, he was actually outsourced from Air Mauritius by Air Uganda. Aga Khan does not outsource a foolish person. he's a very clever business person, successful person, so he actually did get the right person. I have personally, of course, I'm sure those of you who have read and listened on radio with my brother Rama, I have been to Parliament many times. For 12 years, I spent about most of my time talking about re-establishment of a national carrier. And the reason was that first, but before I even go to that, I have flown with Uganda Airlines at least 12 times now. My children have been to Kenya competing for East African Championships in motocross. They've given us support. We paid the tickets. And this is something that I can tell you. I used to fly 15 countries every single year looking for business. And I can tell you that Uganda Airlines has been very, very outstanding. Even my 9-year-old son said, Dad, wherever we are going, where Uganda Airlines goes, we must go with Uganda Airlines. Quality of food, quality of service. On 4 occasions, I have been delivered to a destination much earlier than the time that they should have been there. And flights and pilots are always very smooth. Now, of course, for me, one of the reasons why we are pushing for a national carrier as business, people in tourism and agriculture, I still believe that Uganda's future lies in 2 things, tourism and agriculture, and specifically business, export-based agriculture, not these things of giving people hoes and so on. I also believe that tourism is the other factors now. When I'm a tourist in London and I want to come to Uganda to spend my $16,000, there are 2 things that will make me, after you have marketed to me your country, that will make me decide to come into your country. Number 1 is visas. If it is hard and difficult for me to book a visa into your country, I will most likely choose a country which gives me a chance to book a visa quickly. Number 2, connectivity. If I am going to fly from London, I go to Dubai, spend 8 hours, and then I fly to a destination. The majority of people with resources will not want to waste that time. Now, us having Uganda Airlines flying between Entebbe and London means that we have put a direct road in the air. Airlines are not necessarily a business. Airlines are mainly enablers of an economy. Now, Uganda is well positioned from history. Uganda, let me give you an example of the British. They had an airline called the British Overseas Airline Corporation. The British Overseas Airline Corporation set up Africa's biggest airport, nowhere else but in Entebbe, after doing very thorough research. There were a number of factors. One was Entebbe Airport was 4 hours from Cairo, was 4 hours to Johannesburg, was 1.5 hours to Mombasa, 1.5 hours to Mombasa, and 1.5 hours to major parts of Congo, which means Uganda was at the heart of Africa. Number 2, they looked at these East African countries to look for which one had better landing factors and takeoff factors. One factor was altitude. Entebbe is 1,153 meters high. Nairobi is 1,624 meters high, the airport. Yes. Kigali is 1,491 meters high. Dar es Salaam is 56, but it was off the coast. So Entebbe was a good one. Now when you are taking off, he can tell you, you use less fuel at the lower altitude. He can tell you that. That was number 1. Number 2 was that before you land, there was water body. And after you take off, there is water. So it was a lot of safety factors that were considered. Now, Entebbe became one of the major cities that the British looked at. And then they also had 3 other major cities outside Johannesburg, Cairo, and Entebbe. They had Alexandria in Egypt. Yeah. They had Soroti in Uganda. They had Durban in South Africa. And you can ask, why Soroti?
Why?
And Soroti is where the most of the British Overseas Airline Corporation pilots were trained. Today, 70% of Kenya Airways pilots were all trained in Soroti. So for us, we need to be discussing this more, things that can actually develop us. Now, when it comes to business, what my only disappointment with probably Minister of Finance and people who are funding this plane, it is very important for us to know that you don't buy an infrastructure worth $400 million and you do not to put 10% of that amount of money in marketing. This gentleman, Muleya, needs at least $40 million for marketing. Uganda has lost it a bit. In my opinion, he may not be telling you this. I am a member of the American Tour Operators Association. Kenya Airways started flying to New York in September 2018. But
the direct route.
Direct route from Nairobi to New York. I've flown with it a number of times myself.
Yeah.
But they opened an office in the US to market that route in March of 2013.
For about 5 years.
For about 5 years,
they were marketing
the market, telling you we are coming. Rwanda Air has not started flying to New York yet. Every single year when you're in those meetings, Rwanda has a representation and an office that is well facilitated and talking about the future of Uganda Air flying to the US. So now, as these planes arrive, we celebrate, but the people that are supposed to make the right decisions and say, you know what, we should prepare the English market. Of course, he will tell you that for now we may not go to London. But what you normally do is that you need to have a proper PR mechanism there. If you don't do that, there's one thing that happens. You will find Wekesa getting on a plane, going to London. You find Wekesa getting on Uganda Airlines, going to Kenya. That is not as important as getting Mr. Cornwell from London flying into Uganda. Wekesa flying on Uganda Airlines to Kenya, Uganda Airlines is the only thing that benefits. But when a Kenyan flies Uganda Airlines into Uganda, he will also spend money on the ground. That's the reason why you see, even when Kenya seems to not making profit sometimes, they know that there is a much bigger impact of Kenya on the ground than there is in the air.
In the air.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cornwell, have you already recruited him? Have you hired Amos already?
He doesn't need hiring.
He doesn't need hiring. He has just hired himself.
I thought Amos was on the panel recruiting Cornwell.
No. It's okay.
The good CV.
It's okay. I actually enjoyed it, and it makes the discussion more interesting. If I can hear those perspectives, Cornwell might be like these guys who say, for us, we do our work, and we don't chest thump about them. So the good thing, Amos, as a consumer of your product, to know those benefits is good to start from. Honorable Alex, you have had some of those niceties about Uganda Airlines and why we must have it, and the relationship with the tourism. For starters, I know that you told me at one time you were the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Trade and Investment, I think.
Tourism.
Trade and tourism.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you see the sense in the link between the two, and therefore, as Parliament, you people who make the laws, talk policy, and all this, that there is need to actually invest in this, and probably you need to talk about starting with the challenge that Amos talked about. No money for marketing it, and yet you have invested a lot of money in establishing it.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to appreciate the technical efforts which have seen the Uganda Airlines take off steadily, irrespective of the COVID challenge. Personally, I'm very, very happy because I was one of the strong advocates for getting the airline as the chair of the Trade and Tourism Committee. Because my background is also in economics, we must really have all the ingredients necessary in the country to make us run and competitively. So it was really, I had positive jealousy because I could see a small country like Rwanda outshining us internationally, and I felt really jealous about it, and I kept pushing and saying, why? With all...
You know there is a popular rebuttal. Someone said Rwanda is a small country, then someone responded and said, yes, we are a small country, but we are not small people.
Well, yes. I know Singapore has managed to prove to the world, but I think as Ugandans, given our rich wealth that we possess, actually we are next to none when it comes to that. And when it comes to tourism, when Wekesa was talking about the British, of course, when they were establishing the airport at Entebbe, even Churchill was declaring Uganda as the Pearl of Africa. Now imagine, for all these years, decades, we've not taken serious advantage of our beauty as a country. And the tourism industry, as you know, is a huge income earner, even given the fact that we have not been investing a lot. It has been contributing
almost 7 trillion.
Yeah, almost.
About
$2 billion.
$2 billion in 2018.
Yeah. So you can imagine, with less effort, we've been attracting that kind of revenue for the country. Now imagine if we had put a lot of investments into the marketing, but also we've got also to do the double role of skilling our population to really meet the demands and the standards of the tourism industry. I have always, been disturbed when you reach in an area and you've got to struggle for service when you have all the money. And I think this is something which we really need to get our people to understand. Even if you are operating a smaller business, the more returns you make on that day, the better for your income. So we have also to improve that very, very important aspect in ensuring that someone, when you have money in your pocket, you really spend it. So we have to teach our people the techniques of how you can do that. And I think that is where we are saying, when we are talking about the vocational institutions, we've got to give the hospitality industry priority. And as when I was the chair of trade, we really pushed for improvement of the Ginger Hospitality Training Institute, to upgrade it, to make sure we find the resources for that. And you see, I've been telling people that you might be educated and you are a professor, but you can also be illiterate in some aspects. Much as you can be a financial expert, I have always said that even our technical finance people need to be upskilled, educated, retooled, because the modern world, really, you've got to look at a holistic picture of how you can build an economy. And the moment you don't put aside the resources for marketing, then you lose the point. And each time I have been asking and saying, why is it that these companies, like the telecom companies, invest heavily in branding and marketing? Why is it that as a government we cannot find those resources to do the same? Because we must attract as much as possible international tourists who should really improve on our balance of payment. If we earn more dollars, then our shilling also will gain weight. So for me, the economists in the Ministry of Finance, I think we really need to engage them seriously to ensure that they understand the importance. We fought so hard to find resources for the Uganda Tourist Board. This is a board which was set up, but starved of the marketing resources. And I could not really believe, why should we fail to open up offices wherever they are, the commercial attaches in all these embassies around the world? How are we linking with the UTB to reinforce our tourism agenda. And I think this is where we think that we need to invest and prioritize. Unfortunately, the political class, even within Parliament, getting them to think through these lines and appreciate is not easy, because people are so much preoccupied with the constituency needs without looking at the bigger picture. How do these constituencies link with the national and then the international agenda? So to me, my coming from a tourism city, Fort Portal, of course, Mr. Muleya, I would love to know whether how you are linking with the Uganda Civil Aviation in establishing other airports. For instance, Kasese International Airport, it has been on schedule for a very, very long time, but very little has been done. And yet, you don't want to have a tourist come into Uganda and go through all this traffic jam to go to Queen Elizabeth National Park. You know the hell, what you have to go through from Entebbe Airport to Queen Elizabeth. My God, how many hours are you going to spend between Entebbe and Kampala?
Maybe it is part of tourism.
So we need to do that master plan of how, yes, as tourists come into the country, how do we make life extremely easier for their movements? And that's why I was during my time, I would task the Minister of Transport to say, by the way, what is the master plan of the domestic travel for this country? How much are we using the air transport? How much are we using the water transport? You can't believe someone moving from Entebbe to Arua. You know, there is an improvement, air transport, but you can as well, if I'm living in a Fort Portal, I can go through Lake Albert, and I'm in Arua. To me, as the chair of Parliamentary Forum for Road Safety, I find it very disturbing to see how much we are squeezing and having a very bad impact on the roads. Okay. With reckless accidents. Yet, all this could be averted. It is cheaper for me to travel from Fort Portal by air, I go to Kasese, and fly to Kampala, than driving all the way, you know, with the pollution and all the risks involved. I think this, if we improve that, then we would make life easier. I live in this part of Namugongo, Kireka. You know, why don't we improve the railway transport? Because I see this happen elsewhere, that you just go, park your car somewhere and pay, and then you pick a train and you go to Parliament. Okay. So I think this airline is going to lead a revolution of transportation in the country, and as you know very well, when we were young, they used to teach us that the safest means of transport is by air. Yeah. So why don't we really put much effort? I think during this time we shall really push with government and also Parliament to ensure that they prioritize the resources for marketing, but most also importantly, improving the transport system in the country.
Okay, good to hear that from you, Honorable. Mr. Ramadan, there are expectations that come with this kind of things, these revolutions, as Honorable Ruhunda has called it. The economic expectations or financial expectations, the employment expectations or job expectations, and all this kind of thing, pride expectations, sovereignty expectations, are they worth the money? Are they worth the investment being put in?
Thank you. 2 years ago, I wrote an article in the papers about the agony of flying in Africa. Because much as Amos flies more frequently, we also sometimes fly around this region. And it was really very cumbersome to fly in this region. I wrote that article after the experience I had flying from here to Mombasa via Nairobi, and I spent 10 hours on the way. 10 hours from Entebbe to Mombasa. And
West Africa is actually worse. To West Africa.
The journey I saw such worse and very expensive. And I was using Kechu. I was among those people who were bringing a lot of economics in analysis of the revival of the airline. But that ordeal of 10 hours going to Mombasa changed every economics I studied. And I started looking at the other side of the coin.
The reality.
Number one, I think we need to realize that Ugandans, we've suffered for many years, delayed flights, cancelled flights, overpriced flights. We have lost baggage, and so many other evils have happened to us because we didn't have direct flights where we are going, and also we didn't even have, I think, there was some respect from some of these airlines which were applying the region. So I thought that as Uganda Airlines, as we are restarting it, and now we are a few months into the business, we need to learn all the lessons that failed the old airline so that we make this a fantastic restart and a good business. I know that the timing hasn't been on our side. Immediately after we had relaunched, the COVID came in. I'm sure the number of people who were like, you see, now look, we have just invested a lot of millions of dollars and we can't recoup this money. But as Amos has alluded, and I think the Honorable, the airline is not something you run to make money, first and foremost. It's like a road. You don't construct a road when you are carrying out its economic investment appraisal and you are looking at how much will this road return. But we look beyond the financial NPVs for it. And I think this is the way also the airline was evaluated. I read the feasibility study, which was done by under the leadership of National Planning Authority. And I'm so far so happy that you have gone by the dictates of that feasibility study when you were re-establishing this airline. Because most of the things they talked about, the type of planes you should purchase, and also avoiding leasing, the aircrafts at the beginning, and ensuring that there is minimal government interference by hiring professional people to run the airline, not picking one of the MPs or those who have failed, to Gandhi and run this national pride. So I'm really happy that government has stayed away from this airline and given it a chance. I know the board is quite diverse. I have seen the people under him. I've been following. So it is a very good beginning. Now, aviation, as you know, Charles, in aviation, quality of service is everything.
Yeah.
And in this time management, the food quality, the kind of longer queues which you people, you subject us to at the immigration. These are the things which Uganda Airlines should avoid, and we shall be, you know, home and dry, because I think there are certain things you haven't yet done, like ground handling. They are going to be very critical. The issue, how do you get it back and ensure that you manage it? Because I've had the opportunity of working with about 3 former managers, former Cornwells of Uganda Airlines. I've taught with one, I've sat in office with one for so many years, actually since I left school, and also one of my relatives also worked with your airline. They have told me the story of Uganda Airlines. Without that ground handling, getting back, it will be very difficult for you in the future to make money and be able to you know, maintain this spirit and expectations we have.
Okay.
And finally, for now, I think there is this issue which Amos was talking about, the issue of marketing, the money for marketing. You know, in Uganda, we have one problem. We are over-obsessed with observables. When you present something which someone cannot see, they seem not to take it seriously.
Is that laziness in thinking?
No, it is a culture. It's a culture that, you know, here we have even those things that...
easy go.
No, that amongst Baganda, their eyes, they are here, in the hands. When they don't touch...
I think Professor is avoiding the fact that the training at the universities doesn't give us that opportunity.
No. We don't train like that. We train differently. So I think the Honorable, you need to be serious. When you go back to this 11th Parliament, make sure that you appropriate money for Uganda Airlines to market.
Why are you making him wait for 11th Parliament? He has now, sorry Professor to interrupt you,
yes.
Between now and May, they are still working and we are still paying them. So why don't they, the last one was brought, the last one of the fleet was brought yesterday. Today we are discussing it. Other stations will discuss this. Way forward, can Parliament immediately, instead of asking for supplementary for other things, why don't we now start talking seriously about this if we need it?
That's why, you know, the reason I'm telling him that when they go back to 11, because I know that they have a lot of unfinished business. And the budgeting process also, I understand it. Right now they are discussing the budget framework paper, which had already been put together. These are some of the things which need to be really prioritized. How do we market this now goodwill which we have gotten? Because I think there's a lot of goodwill for Uganda Airlines.
Oh yes.
I've seen so many people whom I never thought that they knew anything positive about Uganda, who are talking very well about Uganda Airlines.
It's true.
And if government does not ride on this goodwill to invest in marketing this country, marketing the airline itself, here in the region and abroad, so that we can be able to, you know, jumpstart the economy when we are allowed to fly again across the globe. I think this is the opportunity. You know, they say that you need to fix the roof when it is shining. Don't wait for the rain and then you start fidgeting with fixing the roof. This is the time to fix the aspect of marketing.
Good. Back to Cornwell. Your colleagues in the airline business. Let me start with Flight Captain Francis Babu, quoted, I think, in Deutsche Welle, when they were talking about Uganda Airlines. He said, in the 1970s, before Uganda Airways, no, the East African Airways shut down, they didn't have sophisticated ways of running an airline. Now he says, for example, tickets could be bought off the counter. Now you have to buy a ticket through a computer. And if you don't pay for it, they cannot give you a free ticket anymore like they used to. Then he said that then businessmen and women, as well as politicians, could access free credit to be used for flying within the region and beyond. And this had major, major consequences. While the airlines continued to borrow money to meet the high cost of operation, they failed to pay back the loans, leading to their eventual demise. Then another person, Flight Captain Mike Mukula, who is more a politician now, my friend Mukula, he says he blamed the initial collapse of Uganda Airlines on poor management, and he was quoted as saying, the airline was heavily undercapitalized, poor managers were not competent enough to manage a competitive airline at the time, and there was also political interference regarding the appointment of board members. So there are about three major issues. One was poor management, there was a problem of low clientele, and then, of course, government interference then. Yes. Are you assured, by the time you were headhunted, if to use that word, and convinced to come back home from Mauritius, were you convinced that this will not take place? And can you assure Ugandans that so far these are not taking place and that this will not be allowed to take place?
I think Professor talked about the feasibility study, which was done by the National Planning Authority, which was a thorough document and looked at the experience of the previous version of Uganda Airlines, with a view to making sure that all those problems that beleaguered the old Uganda Airlines and led to its demise are not repeated. And exactly those items which we have mentioned are contained in writing in that feasibility study, and the shareholders committed themselves that we should, as far as possible, avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, and that is why we have seen that this version of Uganda Airlines is set up differently. First of all, it is not a corporation under an Act of Parliament, which is the structure that would allow government officials to come in and dictate what goes on within the airline. The airline was incorporated under the Companies Act. It's a limited liability company with a governance structure that has got shareholders, of which they hold AGMs every year to look at the strategy of the airline. We have a board of directors selected independently on merit, and also then a management structure below, which is delegated to run the airline. So that was deliberate on the part of government to make sure that those mistakes are not repeated. The shareholders have specifically told the directors that in this airline, even if it's government or government departments, they are allocated a travel budget. So there shouldn't be anyone coming to ask for free tickets, because each government official who travels has got a travel budget where the accounting officer authorizes. And they have gone so far as to say, if by any chance, in the unlikely event that a government official gets credit and the specific MDA has not paid you by the due date, then we can inform Ministry of Finance and they will deduct that money from the MDA and pass it over to the airline. So there are specific mechanisms that have been put in place, but obviously the test of time is really what will show. But so far at the early stages, and we are still in the setup stages, by the way, trying to consolidate our systems, we have not had all those major problems creeping in. So I can assure Ugandans that as far as the structure of the airline and the governance structure and those problems, we are working according to the business plan and to the feasibility study to assure that this project succeeds and continues to serve Ugandans.
Amos, the reference by Professor Gobi to the ground handling and its huge potential, even potential bigger than the flight itself. Is it something that you sit across the round table economic, the round, table economic advisory team and say, in the whether immediate term or mid-term, that this should be reverted back to the airline and not to private business?
Well, I 100% agree with him. And I think the best thing for us to do, and we need to educate politicians, and I want to thank you for inviting people like us here. But I also want to request that the people that are in the media, you should be interviewing people on key issues, yeah? Outside just rhetoric, talk, They should be talking about things that actually affect positively the country. Yeah. Like we're discussing here. It should be politics next week, and even the politician, put them to task to understand these topics, because they don't. A politician should wake up and understand Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopian Airlines, let me give you an example. Yeah. Studies have shown by 2018, he can tell you this, that intra-Africa travel by 2030 is going to have 300 million Africans traveling within Africa.
300 million.
Now, before Ethiopia just took over from Emirates, that was carrying more Africans within Africa than any other airline. So Ethiopian Airlines took over. Now, as we position Uganda, the chances for us to grow are going to be many. But with Ethiopian Airlines, they found out that growth had a bit of challenges. Ethiopian Airlines is like 6 businesses in one. Catering alone, Ethiopian Airlines, I think every month does 180,000 foods. But talking of which, Cornwell, I would like to see Ugandan juice in Uganda Airlines. Have you heard of Teso juice? Teju is the best juice that you can get across anywhere in the world. I want to see Teju, and I hope that the guys of Teso juice are listening.
Yes.
No, but the manager is doing a very good job. It's a new staff who fits on the board, but we need to see Ugandan products. Everything we do on the Ugandan Airlines should be seen that. Now, going back to Ethiopian Airlines. So what Ethiopian Airlines has done is made sure that everything that is served on the plane is whatever is Ethiopian. Okay. They have an arm of training. They train pilots. They have an arm of running other airlines. They were responsible for training a lot of engineers of Rwanda Air. I'm sure you know about that. They also participated in actually first phase of helping Rwanda Air. They did that. They also have they realized that they were encumbered by how the main airport. Ethiopia has got 21 airports. I've been to about 16 airports in Ethiopia. They've got 21 airports that are tarmacked.
In Ethiopia?
Ethiopia. You have the planes we're using here, the bombardiers. You have them moving from city to city, and you're fully booked most of the time. Domestic flights in Ethiopia are massive. Now, they realize that the airport cannot handle, the airport authority could not handle the same problem we're going to have in Entebbe. So they have given the handling to Ethiopian Airlines. They are now handing over the airport, handling of the airport to Ethiopian Airlines, because Ethiopian Airlines was efficient, but the handling service was inefficient. Then the airport itself was run like a proper government bureaucratic system. Now Ethiopia realized that this is a business, you cannot just joke around with it. Now, this airline should take us back to think about this country further. The reason why Uganda is over borrowing, why we are poor, is because we do not have an export-based strategy. We think that us Ugandans who are poor can empower each other. We can never. America has a dream for every country in the world. They have a triple D dream. Number one,
Number 1D is development. When they come to Uganda, they are focused on what they can benefit from Uganda. Number 2, defense. Number 3, diplomacy. For us, it is everywhere we go, diplomacy, diplomacy. We do not want it diplomacy. We need business. Now, I also believe that the only time Uganda had an export strategy, that when we did well, was in Obote 1. Obote woke up one day and realized that we need to have an export strategy. He engaged his brother called Nechon. Nechon set up a triple T and a triple C strategy. Triple T was tourism, tea, and tobacco. Triple C was copper, coffee, and cotton. It was so important that each of these things was export-based, was bringing foreign money. Uganda was at a very high level, to the level that in 1966, South Korea sent people to understudy the cooperative movement. That export-based strategy actually helped things like the formation of national carrier later in 1976 by Idi Amin. And by the time a company like Emirates began, Emirates began on the 8th of March 1983. They had to borrow their first planes, 2 of them. But Uganda Airlines was thriving at the time. They had already grown. And this big man is talking about Kasese, for example. Domestic flights existed. There was a Fokker-friendly plane out of Kasese every day. The rich men of Kasese could put their cars on the rail to Kampala, and they would fly that 48 plane seater into Entebbe to come and enjoy over the weekends. That's how it was. Then they had a train 2 times in a day. One train brought 1,500 passengers and also brought cargo. You could, from Kasese, you would put your luggage on a train and find it in Mombasa. These are things that need to take us back. Now, our economists need to go back to school. They need to be retooled in order to understand that we need an export-based strategy, and we need to put in resources. We need to also understand now that, in fact, I hope somebody is listening who's going to advise the president.
I thought you sit on the presidential round table.
No, this is a volunteer thing. We give an idea. We do not effect it. I am Amos. I give you my free time. I advise you like I'm on TV like this.
This is an NRM MP.
Yes.
Start with him.
It is up to them to take it. Now, what I'm trying to say now, we need to look at 10 countries now and saying this in the UK. We want to get 200,000 tourists. Each tourist must spend $2,000 in the economy and $400 million from the UK. Have a strategy. The person who will take there as an ambassador should be someone who understands business. Someone will take there as, then we look at Kenya. What are the opportunities in Kenya? The person we select as an ambassador in Kenya. The rest of the countries, we can now take political, those who have political failures and whatever. So we need to be thinking in that direction as a country for us. I'm a little bit passionate about this. It is important that we think like a business. This country must be run like a business for us to survive. If not, we're going to sink together.
Okay, Cornwell, you want to...
Yes, I wanted to address the issue of ground handling.
It
has come up a few times.
It has come up so many times.
Yes.
Even in Parliament, I've listened to it many times.
Indeed.
Are you assured of getting it back?
No, where we are is part of the strategy for the airline to self-handle. Because in anything, you have to start step by step. The first thing that we need to do is ensure that Uganda Airlines can handle its own flights. And for that, we requested a budget as part of the capitalization. We have bought equipment. Equipment has started arriving. And we have a transition period of 1 year in which we achieve self-handling. All our flights will be handled by ourselves. And then once we have developed that capacity, then we can handle other partners. We have to be aware that the market has moved and is liberalized.
Yeah.
But based on that investment plan, where we first we are self-sustaining, then we will handle our partners, because necessarily most of the major airlines will be in partnership with us as a national carrier.
Okay.
So it will effectively come on board as we continue to develop this.
Good assurance there, and what a way to, what a moment to go into the break and mull over some of these things. And when we come back from that break, I will be starting with the questions and the comments coming from you out there who is watching and following this debate from the comfort of your sitting room at home. So send in your questions, your comments, and keep them short, and let us know who you are asking the question so that it can be responded to specifically. Let's go for the break, and the discussion is focusing on the tourism sector and the potential in line with the revamped Uganda Airlines. Let's go for the break.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we're not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Shoppers, we have a variety of items like foods, garments, cosmetics, and all sorts of drinks. Enjoy your shopping experience at affordable prices in our fully stocked branches in the following areas: Ntinda Station Road, opposite Makere Business School along Portbell Road, Duster Street opposite Nakasero Market, and Garden City on Yusuf Lule Road. To all our customers and suppliers, we thank you for your continuous support. Stay safe, wash your hands, sanitize, and wear your mask always.
You may have heard of physical distancing. This means keeping at least 2 arms length apart from other people at all times to reduce the spread of coronavirus. But why is it so important? Without physical distancing, each person infected with coronavirus will infect 2 to 3 others. Each of these people go on to infect 2 to 3 more, who each go on to infect another 2 or 3 people, and so on. Within a month, the infection will spread from 1 to 406 people. But if each person halves the number of people they come into close contact with, the number of infections drops dramatically. Each person would only infect 1 or sometimes 2 people, and each of those infected people would only infect 1 or occasionally 2 more. So the disease spreads much more slowly. In a month, the infection would only spread from 1 to 15 people. That's the power of physical distancing. Keep at least 2 arms length distance from as many people as you can to reduce infections and save lives. That way you protect yourself, the people you love, and your country.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back from the break, and I have already benefited from the Airbus. Professor Gobi, you came late. If you check this, I already have my gift. So it reads the Airbus. So I already have my my lapel badge, and thanks, Cornwell. And we are discussing the Uganda Airlines revamp, and you have already got also. Okay. How did you get to?
Oh man, I'm a special guest. I'm a special person, my friend.
Okay, okay.
No, the one was meant for the wife.
Yes, but we are discussing the revamp of the Uganda Airlines, and linking it to the potential for tourism revamp as well, and making it better. Uganda gets $2 billion from tourism, and that was by 2018. 2018, and we are yet to find out how we did in 2020, especially given the slump in business across the world, especially affecting airline business. I have some questions and comments, starting with Patrick from Tororo is saying, thank you, Charles, and the panelists. Please ask for me the CEO, who the shareholders and directors of Uganda Airlines are. Thank you. Cornwell, you can take that on very fast.
Yes, indeed. The shareholders of Uganda Airlines are two government ministries holding shares 50-50 on behalf of government and the people of Uganda. So the the Honorable Minister of Transport, Works and Transport, holds a 50% share, and the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development holds a 50% share.
And they own it as ministers, meaning that on behalf of Uganda?
On behalf of the government and the people of Uganda. Yes.
Good. Another question is from Brian Toshi Bwana in DSM. He says in DSM. He says, Comrade, what plans are in place to revamp the Soroti Flying School? Looking at the success of Air Tanzania and Ethiopian Airlines domestically, is it possible to have national domestic route plan effected in the immediate term? CEO, you want to respond to this, or Amos? I think, CEO, okay. This is for you.
Yes, I can respond to it. The first one, the success of an airline is a coordinated system. So, as you saw, there is work being done at all the 11 or 14 airports across the country and airfields, with a view to improve both the infrastructure and the runways and the aprons. Work is going on right now. There is also initiatives as Soroti Flying School. As you know, government of Uganda is trying to take it over from East African Aviation Academy, because there's an investment structure there that doesn't lend well to having it developed fully for Uganda. But be that as it may, it is being used for training.
Okay.
On the domestic flights, the plan under the feasibility study was, first of all, we set up the airline and link it to regional and international destinations, and allow for the local operators to participate in this industry under a franchise agreement with Uganda Airlines, where we will set up the standards, we put them on the same timetables, so that when a passenger arrives on Uganda Airlines from Europe or from any other point, they can get on a local flight to fly to Gulu, to fly to Kasese, to fly to Kidepo, and make sure that using that one ticket, they can also be participate in the industry. So that is the model we are following. It allows the entire sector to grow, and it allows these local operators to also be strong and buy assets, since they will be visible on our timetable worldwide.
Okay.
Now, maybe, can I add something?
Yeah.
the thing is that it is very important for us to understand that right now there's little capacity in terms of affordability. So we can start with a few airports. You know, Uganda, we've got about 15 Cessnas. The whole country.
Only.
Kenya has got over 200 Cessnas. Tanzania has got over 200 Cessnas. How is that possible?
Can I simplify that one for
there's these smaller planes with 14 seaters. The small flight planes
that are used domestically.
Absolutely, and I think out of 15, I think out of 15, maybe there are only 2.
Amos, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The professor is saying they are easily blown by the wind.
No, but he's my friend, so I'm not going to be harsh on him. Let me finish my point.
Go ahead.
So Uganda, we've got about 15 Cessnas, and maybe only 2 that belong to local Ugandans. What this means is that, one, we need to have a different in focus in terms of investment, but also we need to have an external-based strategy. The reason why we need to have an external strategy is to bring in resources to empower the local person to be able to fly. Now, and I want to give you the best example, it's Ethiopia. Ethiopia was like Uganda. They used to go out there looking for all types of investors to come and invest. But when they started discovering that they need to market their country, and then they discovered that instead of giving halls to people, instead of giving people seeds, they discovered that they needed to create a cargo section. And that cargo section today has over 12 planes. I think you can confirm that.
Yes.
Those 12 planes supply 34 markets across the world. Now, where you have an avocado costing $7 is where they go. Now, that has now brought young people who are educated into agriculture. Because if you go to Oromio alone, I think you've heard of Oromio. Oromio has got 8,300 farmers under 15 circles that are supplying Ethiopian Airlines every day. It has given them power financially. So if the avocado is $7 in the US now, the farmer in Ethiopia is able to get $2 for an avocado. And that way, they're able to go and borrow money, invest in a sub because they know that they're going to access the market that is willing to pay higher. If you look at us here, the farmers are planting for us, and we're paying below the cost of production. There is no way an educated person like my brother Rama, he can preach agriculture, but he can never live lecturing and go and do agriculture. But when when he's able to access the right market, you will not see this man lecturing. He will go back to the gardens and actually do agriculture. Thank you.
Fiona from London is watching, and thanks, Fiona. She says, good show, Charles. Wekesa is very passionate. Do you want to respond to that, Wekesa?
Well, yeah, thank you so much for appreciating that. I am so convinced as a person about this country and its potential, and that's where my passion comes from. And I remove it from politicians. So if I have problems with any politician, I don't attach them to Uganda in my thinking, never.
Good. Cornwell, someone called Bernard Mpire, he says, please, Charles, get me one of those, the Airbus gifts. I will pick it from you. Yeah. Cornwell, you don't have to respond to that.
Yes.
Honorable Muhanga, who is one of our panelists here, sorry, Honorable, you are not feeling very well, but he says you trust politicians, they have their solidarity. She says, I am home watching, and thanks for hosting Alex, who is from my district. And then she says, I also need a gift that you are giving to the rest of the panelists. Okay. Hello, I am Timothy, a final year student in tourism and hotel management from Kampala International University, KIU, and I kindly ask the CEO of Uganda Airlines to tell us the mode of recruiting workers that they are getting.
Yes.
It is not fair at all.
Okay, I can respond to that one.
Respond to that.
Yes, indeed. And I think this is quite important.
How were you recruiting your people? Because we talked about the issue of jobs.
Yes.
And the potential for an airline like this to create job opportunities for the young people.
Yes.
And if there is someone who is not happy about the job process, you need to explain to them.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Charles. First of all, on the potential for jobs. For every one airline job, it creates 6 jobs in the economy. So that is the multiplier effect. The indirect jobs ratio is much higher because of the stimulation effect that it gets on other sectors such as hotel, transport, tourism, catering, and many others. On our employment structure, right starting from the time that the airline was being set up, we said we'll put this process independent of the individuals within the airline. So it is not possible for a candidate to come and see someone at the airline for recruitment of jobs. What we do is we have set up a recruitment website, which is a careers website, careers.ugandaairlines.com. When you go there for any jobs that we advertise, you have the opportunity.
Uganda Airlines is in full.
Uganda Airlines without the double A. Careers.ugandaairlines.com. So that is where all the positions that are advertised in the company are placed. When you go there, you upload your documents, you select the job that you want, you apply, you upload your application letter, and the system will give you an acknowledgement of your application. Okay. We don't see you until the shortlist has been done.
Okay.
The first time we see a candidate is at the time they have been shortlisted for interview. We thought that it is going to be fair and gives everybody an equal chance for each position that
I hope you have not recruited people during this time when there is no internet.
No.
But that's a joke.
Yes.
That's a joke.
No VPN, right?
Because we're not supposed to use VPN. And the internet has been slow, so but that's in jest. Amos, talk about what to export. This is someone called Sunday. Talk about what to export. Unless efforts are put on value addition, we cannot talk of exporting raw milk, raw coffee, and the whole cow with its horns. This is dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think I want to agree with him that we need to go into agro-processing. I'm actually in it. I'm not just one of those guys speaking. I'm actually building an agro-processing plant right now in Soroti, next to Teju.
Yes.
I'm going to be processing about 18 types of cereals, and I'm also going to be doing feeds for Uganda. So I am talking about 2 sectors, and I'm telling you that the 2 sectors that are going to lift anybody out of poverty in this country are tourism and agriculture. Now, I want to give you an example of what actually has made the Nairobi route to New York. I've flown with it 4 times, 5 times now, return trips.
How did you find it?
First, it's 14 hours, you're in New York. Coming back is about close to 13 hours direct flight. And I can also tell you that I also know the pilots, because their children do some stuff like my children, motocross. I've known them, quite a lot of them. So normally I have interaction with them and talk about how they're able to break even. One of the key things that they're doing now, the belly of Kenya Airways that they're using Dreamliners to New York is mainly avocado, has avocado. Because an avocado right now in the US is actually now being run. They distribute it in bits because the demand is so high that even Kenya is struggling to feed it. So the belly is full of avocados.
Ugandans must know that we can export our matoke. We can export our matoke, we can export our potatoes, I can export. The moment we engage, and also we should be communicating, the airline should be communicating this to people. We need to be doing research. You need money. You go to the UK and say, how much demand of sweet potatoes are in the UK? How much demand of matoke is in the UK? That's how we need to do it. So when we go to the UK, you tell young people, we're able to, we have a market of this volume that we can be able to shift to the UK. So we should not just think about, we should not wait until we build factories. We can start with what works now and catch up with time.
Yeah, okay. Right. Good. Cornwell, someone called.
Come in on that, Charles.
Maybe let me read this and then you respond together.
Okay.
Someone called Colin Muyanja. He says, Cornwell told the audience that there is a strategic plan. Could he please tell us when the airline hopes to break even or become profitable? But someone had said it is not a profitable business. Maybe you can respond to that. Yeah. That's part of how we need to hold you accountable to Ugandan taxpayers.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, first let me address the question of the export potential in agro-processing. I think one of the things, maybe my friend participated in it last in 2019. In 2019, there was a delegation from the EU and the UK which came here. They did several studies on Uganda's export potential, specifically to do with agricultural products and food. They certified Uganda to export to the Eurozone. And last year, there were many discussions with government, where government were to establish a free zone where this agro-processing and export processing was going to be done. And if I'm not wrong, 3 weeks ago, the Honorable Minister of Transport commissioned the export free zone at Entebbe International Airport. So, what that does, it opens the way now for exporters and potential buyers out of the Eurozone to come here, have the pineapples and the matoke processed and packaged straight for the supermarkets in the whole of Europe.
It's true.
So that's the next phase. With Uganda Airlines, our role is to provide cargo capacity to these markets.
Yes.
Okay. And the aircraft we are receiving, these A330 Neos, they have got ample belly-hold cargo capacity to give you, when it's full with passengers, with 10 tons per flight. When it's not full with passengers, we carry up to 25 tons.
Okay.
So that process is happening. The next phase of our development obviously would be now, how do we augment that type of capacity to have specific freighters to service the market?
Okay. Thank you so much, Cornwell. I think Professor and Honorable Ruhunda want to add something.
Yes.
Yeah, you see when Cornwell was talking about the value chain of the airline.
Yeah.
A quick scan, and after my friend Wekesa, who is now turning into agriculture, I think after experiencing COVID, of course you have now to be resilient.
Oh, yes.
And diversify your investments. But the biggest challenge that we face as a country is mobilizing our population to produce quality products and in big volumes.
Yes.
Now we have the entire system from Ministry of Trade up to the commercial officers at the district level.
Yes.
But when you get to see how much effort that is being done technically to prepare the population for the bigger market, then you really shudder. Because these guys are not understanding the importance of their roles to the economy.
It's true.
And what hit us most during these elections was the youth unemployment.
Yeah.
I mean, the youth were in arms against us. And why? Because they didn't see much being done Now, the frustration being a politician or a political leader without the technical engine that is delivering.
It's true.
You know, you get the pressure. You are the one who has to be hit hard at the end of the day.
Yes.
And these technocrats, they are used to being there without whether nobody holds them accountable. The people are not working on set targets. In any serious environment, you find someone under pressure on a job to deliver with clear targets. And you don't do that, you miss the targets, you lose the job. But unfortunately, our system has really allowed too much laissez-faire to the point that a technocrat or a civil servant knows that at the end of the day, this political fella who is putting me under pressure will go and they remain. How many have we not seen change? But the population doesn't really look at these technical people as a challenge.
It's true.
And now
they know the politicians.
Yeah, of course the wrath is put on us.
But also you also pose as if you are the solution, because you are competing for who is lying most to get the votes.
Well, you know that
you have never promised bridges where there are no rivers.
You know that when you are pursuing a vision, you know, a political leader must provide hope. And you must encourage people things are going to be fine.
The moment you said when you are providing vision, I saw where you were going.
No, I'm just telling you that.
But he's putting it that well. So
yes, but that is leadership, because a leader, you cannot just, you know, tell people that I'm sorry, things can't move. You've got to show them hope that things will improve.
I agree.
And we all work towards that.
I'm not actually criticizing you. I am actually expressing also the reality that you are in people's faces more than the technocrats.
Yes,
you are
and when you listen to Wekesa, of course, he's like from another world. We're getting the realities of Uganda into context.
Yeah.
And fixing these real, you know, you talk about building a culture of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And where people really take time, energy, skills very seriously.
Okay.
So we need to fix that, and that's why we must turn around these local governments to be business-like. Yes. We cannot really continue looking at them as service delivery entities, and without really being mindful of how much wealth is being generated in the localities. And that's why, you know, when you ask the local leaders about the local GDP, they will be stuck. They cannot understand that language.
Own area.
Yeah, so it's about really changing the mindset of these leaders to focus on the productivity component that feeds into what is required for Uganda to earn from the exports. So we need to do that, and I'm happy that my friend Honorable Mahanga, she's wishing me well on this program.
That's a good one. Professor Gobi, let me allow you to respond to this. Someone says the person has written a very long message but does not write their name. Please, next time, send a short message, at most 2 sentences, but let it be 1 sentence. Anyhow, this one I will go with. Charles, Amos makes a serious point that marketing is a fundamental driver for commercial growth of such an airline. Marketing, however, begins with the internal customer, who is a Ugandan. The brand penetration strategy for Uganda Airlines didn't click. You remember the brand strategy? Uganda Airlines. We grew up as young people visiting Coca-Cola, airport, and so on in school tours. This is what should have been done for Uganda Airlines. Create love for the brand, and this will translate in customer-based growth.
It's true, she's right.
What do you think about this?
Yes, partially, he's right. But Amos made a fundamental point, and I will start with it to put it in the context. There's somewhere he talked about the need to to build an economy that is export-oriented.
Yes.
You know, Uganda, we have a mindset of building, we call it in economics mercantilism. We think that when we don't allow external trade and we strengthen our own internal economy, then usually we call it a market. We have our domestic market. I hear a lot of people, including economists, talking, you know, in Uganda we have a big market. There's no market here.
It is not there, yeah.
The economy of Uganda is too small to support even us as Ugandans. We need to learn the culture of tradability, to make the economy tradable by producing for export, and you fetch the foreign currency and you bring it into your country. That's how economies develop. We call it integration. You integrate into the global economy, not even regional economy. So I liked that point of Wekesa, because, you know, we are very busy working so hard in Uganda to build an economy of small monies. We call it economy of small monies. You know, you sell to your neighbor a basket of potatoes, and then you buy from them a chicken, and you think you are going far. No, you can't. You are just sharing small money. One time I told you here why, for example, here in Kampala we are having a challenge of this now vibrant informal economy. It keeps people with small incomes. You know, you ride the border, you earn some 10,000, then you hand it over to one who's going to clean your head, then he also hands it over to one where he buys food. So you end up the entire week sharing 10,000 shillings.
Yeah.
And
actually, the border,
does not.
Just a little information on the border. We spend a lot of money at Mulago Hospital because of accidents. The rate at which these borders are causing accidents and people breaking bones and so on. When you go to look at the gains out of that, it is really terrible for the economy.
I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to just illustrate something fundamental for us to do. So to that extent, I agree with Wekesa that we need to see how do we build the capacity to globalize Uganda's economy, such that we can bring a lot of dollars into this economy and be able to create jobs. That multiplier effect Cornwell was talking about, that when you fly in people from abroad, and much as the few people who are in the plane working on them, the cabin crew and the pilots, they are very few. They are going to create another multiplier effect when these people come into the economy. But one area also...
Having said that, I think that question goes to Nixon. That answer goes to Nixon, who was saying, how will the taxpayer benefit from this airline?
Oh, yeah. So partly that explains to him. But I wanted also to a bit, you know, we have had a conversation with Amos for a number of years over what sectors would drive Uganda's economy and make it transformative in nature.
You said tourism and agriculture.
Amos has always been a very good ambassador of tourism, which is a very good thing. And I support 100% tourism. Now he has added on agro-industry. I would want Amos also to become an ambassador because of his enthusiasm of industrialization, manufacturing. Because he knows that in economics, development economics, we are taught and we have research everywhere. If you want to really create productive jobs and support an airline like the one Cornwell is going to manage for a number of years, you need people
with disposable incomes that can be at that magnitude. But when you look at this agriculture we are doing of growing a few avocados and potatoes and so on, you know, food is food. The income elasticity of demand is quite low. It doesn't, you see, Amos, the point is, myself here, when I was a student, I was eating avocado. 2 pieces on a plate. Now I am earning as a teacher of other students and also as a consultant, and I still earn 2 pieces on a plate. I don't eat. I mean eat. I don't eat a basket of avocados.
You have the potential, though.
But but I'm buying more pairs of shoes. I'm buying more shirts and jackets and so on.
Yeah.
So that multiplier effect is higher there, and that's where you find that we always encourage that let economy be multi-sectoral, but you choose where your anchor is going to be in terms of sectors. To me, I would think that as we go forward, as we promote agriculture, let us industrialize that agriculture. Let us ensure that we build factories to add value to whatever we produce before we give it to him to put it in a plane to take. Otherwise, we are going to not to be able, you know, the entire Africa, we contribute only 3% of the global value of manufactured goods.
It's the entire Africa.
1, 2, 3%, entire Africa.
Yeah.
And that 3%, 1.8% is contributed by one country, South Africa.
Yes.
And then Egypt and Nigeria. And the rest of us, we are contributing about 0.8%. So we need,
like many of the
that's why we can't
presidential
create
results
jobs,
recently,
we can't,
0.1,
yes, we can't have
0.3.
money in our pockets. Because we are into this economy of small monies, growing things, selling them to the neighbor, then you buy from the neighbor.
Or giving them on credit.
And you stay there. So we need to advance that, and I thought I should comment on that before finally I talk about the listing of the airline on stock exchange.
Yeah. There is one little thing.
Just let him first finish.
Yes.
Just let him finish first.
I know that COVID has completely hit us hard, especially in this sector, because it's one of those in the vulnerable economy, because it is difficult to social distance. But as we emerge out of this COVID, to me the future of the airline does not rely a lot in a recapitalization by government, because government has its own too many demands competing with the airline. You will start now seeing this government, once you rely on it a lot, poking these politicians, poking their noses into the affairs of the airline too much. So to avoid that, I would think that as per the feasibility study, I would want to find out from the CEO which plan do they have in once you get, for example, quite good goodwill and headway into some kind of equity. How do you intend to get the airline listed? Because you see, another problem you have in Uganda, all businesses, they are run by individuals, family. Amos Wekesa doesn't want to sell us shares. And yet there are so many other Ugandans who have their small monies, they would want to use and invest in a business to grow it. So the airline has opportunity of getting some money from some of us who have small monies. By the way, the one of Amos, I was joking, Amos is a different one.
Actually, it's one of my shareholders. MV Kazinga, the best boat in the country.
We bought a boat.
Yes.
Now, but the moment we bought it and put it there, COVID came. So I don't know now who's the right. So, but we need the stock exchange.
Yeah. Good. Honorable, you wanted to, in a minute, to give some information?
Yeah, you know, they were rating Ugandans as among the happiest people in the world. And when the professor talks about us being happy with the small achievements, small monies, you find that the ability of people to think about bigger monies is really curtailed by the fact that they are satisfied with little
small things,
and you know, it is really across the board. So I do not know. I think this is a research issue why people are not in a hurry, you know, to think for big things. Ambition
is lacking.
Yes, and they are really
maybe lack of confidence in themselves.
So I think we need to interrogate that deeply, because the driving force of a population to be very productive
is lacking.
It has to be when you have got a bigger ambition that you want to achieve.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So
we are running out of time, but several comments and messages coming, which I need to share with us. Nixon still said, this one we don't need to respond to. The gentleman from Lwakaka is wasted wherever he is. Sure? Let his brain be planted in the airline management.
Then the private sector will collapse.
Someone says that why sink billions of shillings in airline to make losses? Uganda is a poor state. We can use other company. We can use other company around the globe. Someone, Geoffrey, he uses short forms of writings, and some of them are hard to understand. So those are some of the, but those are some of the messages that there are many that have come. Someone called it, Twino says, potential industrialists divert their money in building malls and arcades instead of factories. There is need for serious change of mindset. That's what you are saying. Sure. And another person here says, until we start holding our leaders accountable with specific deliverables and run the country with a business mindset, as Amos rightly says, we shall not see true development. Honorable Alex Ruhunda, congratulations. So I think we need to, there are several other messages that have come on Twitter, but I'm going to read them shortly as we wind up. We're left with just a quarter of the time. We have a culture here. Amos, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to quickly say, of course everybody has got an opinion, but an airline is not something we should debate whether it exists or not. What we should debate now is what we do for it to bring value to Uganda, because Uganda is a landlocked country.
Yeah.
And it means that an airline means a lot to us. But I just wanted to just quickly touch on the point that my brother Gobi brought out. The reality is that the purchasing power locally is very small, like he rightly said. But I want us to focus on a small country called Mauritius. This big man worked in Mauritius. Mauritius was a sugarcane country until 2005. In 2005, the sugarcane market fell. Now, what did they do? They transformed the jaggeries into a tourism attraction and started making what they call rum. Yes. I tell you, I was in Mauritius, I've been in Mauritius a number of times. You reach there in August. August is the worst month of business in Mauritius. But there are 8 Emirates flights a day, double-deck planes. Emirates airline. 8.
Going for jaggery.
Yeah, going for, to just go through how they process that. You know what I'm talking about? But then they have also been taught, skilled by the Mauritian government. This is what this gentleman is talking about. Let's skill Ugandans. From the time you arrive at the airport, the taxi man is just making sure that you spend money in the economy. Now, some things like linen. Mauritius should not export linen. But you cannot go to Mauritius and the guy does not tell you buy linen. So it has become a place where everything that is manufactured is actually sold to a foreigner, and they're making so much money. So industrialization plus a national carrier plus tourism can actually get a country out of poverty.
Okay. Mr. Gobi, I need you to ask your question now. If we shall be left with some few minutes, we will use them to respond to some of the nagging questions and issues from the audience.
I should ask one since the time.
Yeah.
And the experts try to help us. Now that each of these countries in East Africa almost now own an airline. Uganda, we have been among the last ones to get one. Tanzania has, Kenya has, Rwanda has. Do you think it would be better if we started a conversation of actually pulling these airlines together and we go back to the East African airlines? Wouldn't it be a better way of getting economies of scale as a region, and perhaps we get shares each country, and also we can specialize in roles? Wouldn't it be a better deal, given now that with COVID it's going to be a very difficult time for aviation industry? Yeah.
You want to only to ask the CEO only?
I will start with the CEO, then
yes,
ask it there.
Okay.
I think the reality actually in aviation is that airlines cooperate much more than they compete. Behind the scenes, we have got what we call the interline system, which allows you to purchase a ticket on Uganda Airlines, and then you use it on Kenya Airways, on Emirates, to go many places, because the entire chain is integrated. What is happening right now when you have a proliferation of airlines is that actually you duplicate money on marketing. For example, I give you an example between Nairobi and Entebbe. We have many, we fly, and Kenya Airways flies. We fly twice a day. They fly maybe twice a day or 3 times sometimes, depending on the season. Now with COVID, all the flights, average waiting time out of Nairobi is 8 hours. So we could do better by cooperating on these routes, and we agree. We say, okay, this size of market, 300,000 passengers per year, requires 10 flights a day between these 2 points. So how many do we put? We put 10 flights a day. Through the interline system, the passenger just takes the next available flight. It allows us to give proper service to the market. It allows us to price properly. It allows us to grow the market and not to duplicate our marketing effort. Because as you understood, the East African visa is meant to actually eliminate that duplication in marketing.
It's true.
Make it possible for the passenger who arrives in Nairobi to come and visit Uganda and go around. So that idea that you have of cooperation is quite a strong one, and we are looking forward to doing that.
No, but let me just add something small.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is extremely very important point. But the challenge we have in this region is that we are siblings. We have small petty rivalry. I give you an example. They set up what they call the East African tourism marketing strategy, where we're supposed to have a basket, where Uganda would put in $5 million, Kenya another $5 million, Rwanda $5 million. When it came to contributing of the resources, Uganda was not willing to put money in the marketing. Rwanda put in money for marketing. Kenya put in money for marketing. And they said, no, we cannot work with people who are not interested. Then it came to the East African visa. This gentleman can tell you that East African visa, where a client arrives, if he arrives in Entebbe and goes to Kenya and has paid $100.
Like the Scandinavian arrangement.
Yes. Normally, Uganda earns more money.
The Schengen.
You go to the contribution. That's the only place that Uganda became so honest. Uganda has been contributing more, has been declaring more money than Kenya. Now, Uganda Airport has been handling about 1.8 million passengers. Yeah. Nairobi is going towards 10. Uganda is only competing with Mombasa, Moi International Airport. But they're telling you that Uganda is actually having more clients, is showing more resources. So that competition can't work because of this stupid rivalry. Now, that said, there will be a chance in the future where maybe leaders, it also goes to politics as well. Are the political interests aligned? I don't think they're aligned for now. For now, we need to chase our own dream.
Can they?
I'm not sure. No, not in the short term. Not in the short term.
Okay. Go.
As politicians in the Legislative Assembly, how do you get the linkage between the airline and the oil work? Because we are even building an airport in Kabale, and many Ugandans on the streets, not in these formal settings, they are beginning to whisper, but is that oil really there? Because it has over-delayed. How do you think we can use now this opportunity of the airline to get the oil industry kickstart?
Well, as I said earlier, that the value chain of the airline is to stimulate many other sectors of the economy. And of course, with the air transport, it becomes, it is the fastest in terms of saving time. As you know, we will need so many experts into the oil wells, the whole production of oil, getting the pipeline to work and everything. You must be able to move both human and cargo. So the fact that the international airport Kabale is being constructed and also improving the road network, because you know the Bunyoro region used to be Maram. Thanks to the oil, now they have tarmac. But from the analysis, there are more dangers using road transport, especially when you are carrying heavy cargo. So many people would be safer moving by air. So for me, I think that would be an attraction, especially for people who value their skills and know that they want to minimize risks whenever there are movements from one area to another. Okay. So I wanted just quickly to give this observation that actually Uganda improved heavily in the regional trade. We surpassed now Europe and America. So our returns from the earnings within our regional market has really improved greatly. So we just need to build on that advantage.
Okay. You have finished the questions?
No, I wanted just a small one on the procurement. Because you see, Uganda Airlines need to be supported by the government. Are you getting the full support, the CEO, in terms of those who are, I know in the COVID they are not flying, but before COVID, there was that, you know, in Uganda we speak strong language, but we don't follow it up with action.
No implementation.
Where the people in the government flying Uganda Airlines.
Yes. No, on that one, I think we would not have gotten this far without the full support of government, that I can say. From the time, if you recall, when we started this project, we said to Ugandans that we would follow this fleet plan, and by December 2020, we would have the A330s coming here. January 2021, the second one would come. And all that support that we have enabled us to make this achievement has been from government.
Okay.
We have delivered the milestones on time and on budget, which I understand is in is an unusual story on most projects. So we're very pleased with the support that government has done. And I must confess that this project was part of the NRM manifesto, and it was championed by His Excellency the President himself. And really this is what, that full support is what has made this project a reality.
He's passionate about it.
Yes.
But how about the civil servants who travel a lot, you know, the technocrats and all these other people, the politicians who travel a lot on taxpayers' money and still doubt, they have misgivings about flying Uganda Airlines?
Yes.
They are useless.
I think that is, as you know, there was a directive by government that we should support, as far as possible, our own airline before we go to other carriers.
Okay. Someone called Tash here from London says, "Hi Charles, hope you're well. We are watching the show. This is good news to us in London. We can't wait to end the 15 hours plus journey and transit to the under 8 hours direct flight from London to Entebbe." Yes. This is what the person is saying.
Yeah.
That should be good music to your ears. Then someone says, on an unserious note, okay, if unserious, why are you sending it? But anyway, we need to see both our small and big planes parked alongside each other. Nice show, and I'm learning a lot from Wekesa.
He has to do that.
Then another person says, we have stiffer competition from our region than we can possibly put up with in the next 5 years. CEO, are you up to the competition?
Yes, indeed, and it is by careful design. The airline has selected a product that is competitive. That's why we went for brand new planes with all the safety requirements, which allows us to make sure that the cost to the taxpayer is minimized when you have financed through equity. So there is no borrowing involved, which puts pressure on the organization to be able to perform. So, and secondly, as you would have seen on our A330s, the interior of the cabin is of a standard that has not been seen in Africa today of any airline. And secondly, the performance of the technology itself allows us to achieve 25% less fuel burn per hour compared to the same generation aircraft. So
fantastic.
Okay, we have hit I think midnight, and we need to close. It's interesting. I'm enjoying it, but we need to close. Honorable is looking at his clock and wondering, hey, we have reached already. But yeah, so let me just start with the CEO, Cornwell, in 30 seconds. I want to give you, for you can actually use your 30 seconds to do your marketing for free for now. Next time, you must pay to advertise. But speak to your potential clients. You now have the entire fleet, those within the region and going, you know, the long haul flights.
Yes, thank you so much, Charles. You know, this airline was set up for Ugandans. It is your airline. The government has demonstrated their commitment to invest in this economy. It's providing currently more than 270 jobs to Ugandans. It is looking forward towards the future to provide not only passenger traffic but also for cargo. It is marketing the country everywhere we go, which is brand Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I believe it deserves your support. We are here to offer the product, and testimony for those who have flown. They can tell you that we are the best as far as service, punctuality, as well as quality of the cabin that we offer in the market today.
And for safety, they should be guaranteed.
Oh,
absolutely,
yeah, fantastic.
yes.
Good. Amos.
Well, I want to say I've been a very happy client of Uganda Airlines, and for me, I always speak my mind. If it was bad, I would say it. He knows it. So I think let's all fly Uganda Airlines. It's our national carrier. The other thing that I want us to remember is that Uganda is bigger than any politician in this country, that we need to come to a time where we look at Uganda and lift Uganda up. We are tearing it apart, and it is going to work against all of us. It's important for the political class to actually dialogue for the good of this country. It is good for us to fight internally, but have a strategy to make Uganda greater than any country in the region. We have a problem at our hand. We are producing over 100,000 children every single month. That's about 1.5 million Ugandans are born every day. Every day, every hour we waste is going to work against us.
Okay. Honorable.
Well, you know, Wekesa keeps tuning on the front of politics. I would appeal to all those political players in the country. Let us act responsibly by being patriotic. To love our country, we can have disagreements, but we don't need to destroy our country because of our differences. And I think we must really be nationalists and avoid the tribal, you know, sentiments that are really very dangerous for the future of our country. So I would hope that everybody who wants to add value to Uganda, you must really be a nationalist and encourage every Ugandan to embrace the development of our nation.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Gobi.
My good friend Amos Wekesa has aptly spoken on my behalf. Thank you. And good night.
You say thank you. Good night. And God bless you. Thank you so much out there, you the viewer, for watching. Thanks so much more to those who sent in their questions, comments. Many more have come. We didn't have the opportunity to read them, and I apologize for that and take responsibility for them. But know that we have received them and incorporated all your comments and views in the discussions that we have been having, you know, roping them here and there. Thanks to CEO, Uganda Airlines. It's great having you here. And come again when we invite you, because this is our taxpayers' money product. This is our country, and we want to build it together. Wherever and whenever we can add any value, we feel obliged and proud too. So thanks a lot. Amos Wekesa, of course I can attest to your passion, especially for tourism, but more especially at a broader level for, you know, the stability and development of this country, so that we can all harness, you know, we can all harness the opportunities. Thanks a lot, and for accepting especially to come and be part of this show. When we call you again, please come. Honorable Ruhunda, I have already said thanks for surviving. It was a massacre across the country, and a political massacre, and that's part of the democracy, the bitter democracy. It is what it is. So, but thank you so much, and thanks to the people of Fort Portal City for bringing you back. My teacher here, and for all of us, thanks a lot. I can't appreciate you enough. Thanks to the production team, you are the best, and to you, we can't thank you enough as well, but know that we value your time. Producers, thank you. Until next week, God bless you. Stay safe. COVID still exists, so make sure you continue carrying on with the standard operating procedures. Social distance, wash your hands with soap, And if possible, don't meet too many people in a crowd. Always ensure that you wear your mask. And if possible, do test so that you can be helped in time. Otherwise, COVID still exists. Bye-bye. God bless you. God bless Uganda.
This weekend on UBC.
You know, when God bless someone, or when God bless you, you become a blessing. You know, when you become a blessing, you can be able to
bless others.
Bless others.
The Ideation Corner is a space where ideas are discussed and dissected.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Hello, my name is Dr. Henry Dogu, a consultant in hematology and oncology. Health promotion and disease prevention programs focus on keeping people healthy. They aim to engage and empower individuals and communities to choose healthy behaviors and make changes that reduce the risk of developing chronic diseases and other illnesses. Join me on New Health Chat every Thursday at 9 p.m. on UBC TV, sponsored by National Medical Stores, who are mandated to procure, store and distribute essential medicines and medical supplies to all public health facilities in the country.
I hate marriages that fail. I don't want your marriage to fail. Why? I mean, I'm succeeding in marriage. Why should you fail? Why should you fail? I hate it. And that's why we come over here every other moment to unlock the marital bliss.
You know, you're my wife. Yeah. I loved you. Yes. I will always love you.
Yes. I want to thank you for standing with me. I want to thank you for raising our children. I want to thank you for the life we have stayed together. Thank you for being a wonderful woman. I wish every husband had a woman like Justine.
I have loved you from day one, and I always love you.
Amen.
Thank you for loving me. Thank you for taking care of us.
Amen.
I love you.
I love you
till
too.
death. God does us apart.
Amen.
Yes, once you have the key, you don't have to fight. You just insert the key, turn around, and unlock bliss in your marriage. And that is why we are here. Remember to always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, social media, YouTube, and hey, let us know how this has been a blessing to you.
Drink one for the road, and let me drink one for the road. Oh, Sajate Ungimba. Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Oh, every little thing I do it for you. I sing it for you.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Wolves are amazing animals, but they are also known for killing farm animals like chickens and sheep.
Last night, my roommate called, saying she was hurt, so I rushed home. But she was fine. It was just a joke.
That's Nicole for you. She's done that to me before, too. It's risky to cry wolf like that again and again.
Yeah, one day she might really need help, and you know what? We won't be there.
A long time ago, a shepherd was bored while guarding his sheep. So, for fun, he would shout, "Wolf!" Each time, villagers ran to help him. And each time, they found no wolf. Well, then a wolf really did attack. But when the boy cried, "Wolf!" no one came. You can probably guess how this story ends. And that's English in a Minute. Welcome to English in a Minute. Window dressing is arranging products in a store window to make them look nice and appealing.
Window dressing.
Anna, I just invested in this great new company, and you should too. It's a sure thing. And look at all the free stuff you get.
Oh, you should be careful, Jonathan. All that free stuff could just be window dressing.
No way. The stock is doing great. Well, oh no. It's down 5 points from yesterday.
Well, at least you got a free bag and a hat.
Window dressing is meant to attract customers. That's okay for a store. But in daily life, window dressing makes something seem better than it really is. As you might expect, we mostly use this expression in a critical way. And that's English in a Minute.